For years, I've always wanted to make my own TV show, and the one that I absolutely knew I wanted to make more than anything else I ever came up with was Mario. The Mario games for me have been a huge source of joy and comfort for as long as I can remember. And though I really enjoy the cartoons made by Deke Entertainment, despite them being, terrible, deep down I knew this franchise could be made into a truly incredible TV series. So, I made my own. Ever since I was in high school, I've been coming up with tons of different concepts for tons of different shows. And now I have so many sitting in my Google Drive that I don't really know what to do with them. But rather than just leaving them to gather dust while I go off to work on other projects, I figured I could use YouTube to share my ideas in a way that'll hopefully make for some entertaining content and help me keep my creative juices flowing. And since Mario holds such a massive place in my heart, I think it's only appropriate we start with him. Now, it's extremely important to me that, very much like what Batman the Animated Series did for Batman, this show faithfully represents the Mario franchise in its purest form, while bringing its own unique style to help make it stand out. As such, the characters would have personalities that reflect aspects of their appearances in the games, with some more distinctive traits. Our heroes would be part of a regular team like in the older shows, but for this series, our team consists of Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, and Daisy. Mario's very headstrong and adventurous. He's the kind of guy that's quick to look on the bright side of things and make the best out of any situation. Luigi would be just as timid and cowardly as ever, but he still has a good heart and is willing to stand by his brother's side no matter what. Peach is very much the mother of the group. She's the one that wears the boots in this family. She wouldn't be a regular damsel, she would be able to fend for herself and never have to feel like she's the one that needs protecting. If she should ever be kidnapped, she would find her own way of escaping or weaken the enemy's forces from inside to help Mario and the others take them down more easily. Her characterization is based heavily on the Super Mario Adventures comics, but here she can appear a lot sweeter and cuter to make her more fierce and aggressive moments funnier and more satisfying. As for the fourth member of the Super Squad, I decided to go with Daisy because I love the idea of taking her character in a certain direction that helps further separate her from Peach. Since she appears mostly in spin-offs like the sports games, I think it'd be fun if she was some kind of thrill seeker. She'd have a lot of energy, she'd be incredibly active and beam with enthusiasm, but she wouldn't call herself a princess because maybe she would have found it boring and decided to drop the title. Those are just the main characters, but what about Toad? Well, we could have Captain Toad, and the Toad Brigade could serve as Peach's castle security, with Toadette being his assistant, and Toadsworth as Peach's ward. Yoshi could be Daisy's pet, as a reference to the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Professor Egad can be around, helping deal with more supernatural threats. Honestly, there are so many characters in the Mario universe that the cast could be limitless. As for what other recurring characters would appear, that would depend on what locations are visited in every episode. The Mushroom Kingdom is something like a continent consisting of separate lands, and it's surrounded by several other kingdoms, including the Jungle Kingdom, where Donkey Kong's island is, and the Metro Kingdom, where Pauline would continue serving as the mayor of New Donk City. The Mario Brothers would live and run a plumbing business in the Mushroom Kingdom, no mention of Brooklyn or the real world. This would allow the show to focus more on the fantastical side of the Mario franchise. Whatever happens in this series will take place strictly in the Mushroom World. If this cartoon's gonna be about Mario, then it has to look like Mario. The style I have in mind for the show is a combination of the official 2D Mario art style and the Super Mario Adventures comics. I decided to go with this because, 1, I love this art style, and 2, I feel it's the most visually creative interpretation of Mario that exists outside the games. With official 2D Mario art, the characters seem to have the same basic expressions and don't stray very far from the current style. In the Adventures comics, however, the characters emote in so many different ways. Their eyes can bulge out of their skulls when they get surprised. Their faces can dramatically change in art styles to emphasize how scared they are. They can scream so loudly while being turned into stone that even their own screams will be turned to stone as well. Charlie Nozawa's approach to this series is so charming and so inventive that, if combined with Nintendo's official art style, it could give the show a look that helps convey the fun, frantic vibes of the Mario games and keep the characters recognizable while displaying a wide range of expressions. Now, Mario games generally follow the same basic storyline. Bowser captures Princess Peach, and Mario and Luigi have to go save her. Even if you have fully developed characters and a fleshed out world, how can you make a full show out of that setup? Well, if you look at the games and even at the old cartoons, Bowser always had a different plan, or at least different variations of the same plan, every single time. So, who's to say that every episode has to be about Peach needing to be rescued? Or, who's to say that Bowser has to be the main villain? My initial idea for a premise was more akin to the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, where Bowser hatches new plans to try and take over the Mushroom Kingdom while Mario and the gang would have to stop him. But then I started leaning towards another premise that I think could be a little more interesting. What if Bowser is already defeated by the start of the series, and Bowser Jr. serves as the main villain? He could take over the Koopa throne and work with the Koopalings to conjure up new evil plans that our heroes will no doubt have to foil. By having Bowser gone for most of the series, Jr. could be pressured to live up to his father's legacy and, in some ways, try to be better than him. So, if any of his plans backfire, it could be as a result of that pressure causing him to make rash decisions. But more often than not, any plans that go awry will be in part due to sibling quarrels. The Koopalings would not get along, and their personalities would clash just as much as they did in the Super Mario Bros. 3 cartoon. Now, if we were to make Junior the main villain, would Bowser make any sort of appearance? Of course. Maybe the series could end with him making his grand return in the final episode, where he would finally conquer the Mushroom Kingdom, and the gang would have to fight him off in a climactic showdown for the ages. That sounds like a pretty catastrophic event, but this is Mario we're talking about. No matter what the stakes may be, it's still about two Italian plumbers that jump around in a magical land filled with talking mushrooms and turtle dragon hybrids. This is not something to be taken super seriously. And this brings me to another vital aspect of any TV series, the tone. To best describe what I would want to go for, let's look back at the Super Mario Adventures. Yeah, in case you couldn't tell, I really love this series, and you should totally read it if you haven't. These comics take the wacky and playful nature of the classic Mario games and just run with it. It combines elements of slapstick comedy, intense action, and fairy tale-like innocence. To me, this is the only kind of tone that an animated Mario series should follow. That way, it can be goofy, lighthearted, and fun while still taking itself seriously enough so that there would be a real danger for the leads to overcome. Alright, now that we've got a show, I'm going to give some examples of potential episodes. The format for the series would involve telling mostly standalone stories, 22-minute episodes with two 11-minute segments each. I wouldn't push for an overarching plot or interconnected storytelling because I feel having standalone episodes would make the show more accessible and better reflect how people can approach the Mario games. You can play anything from the main series or one of the spin-offs and enjoy yourself, and in the same way, you can start watching the show at any point in its run from any random episode. Back on topic, some episodes would primarily follow Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Daisy as they have to foil one of Bowser Jr.'s evil, insidious schemes. As an example, let's say there's a big party being thrown in the Mushroom Kingdom. Everyone gets excited about this and heads over to where it's happening, but then it turns out to have been a trap set up by Bowser Jr. and maybe one or more of the Koopalings. Now all the Mushroom people are locked in a dungeon, and so Mario and the others have to rescue them. Other episodes would have them meet one or more characters that are being threatened by Bowser Jr. and the Koopalings, and so the gang would have to protect them. Here's another example. Let's say there's a farmer named Stanley. He and his family live on a small farm somewhere in the Mushroom Kingdom, but for whatever reason, the Koopalings want to tear it down and build something new on that acre of land. Then once the gang hear about this while visiting Stanley's farm, they promise to help fight off the Koopalings and keep the farm safe. By the way, I didn't just pick Stanley as a random name. This is the same Stanley from Donkey Kong 3. In that game, he uses insect repellent to fight off all the bugs that go flying towards him. And since farmers also use pesticides to protect their crops, I figured having Stanley be a farmer would make sense. This leads me to my next subject. Other episodes could take a similar approach to the 2012 Ninja Turtles cartoon and incorporate characters and ideas from different parts of the Mario franchise into the story, whether it be games, comics, cartoons, the movie, the animes, etc. Or, to take this concept even further, we could have episodes be adapted loosely or directly from other Mario sources. I'm going to use Super Mario Sunshine for this example, and you'll see why pretty soon. So Mario and the others are vacationing to Isle Delfino to take a break from dealing with the Koopas. But of course, when they get there, the entire island is covered in graffiti and Mario is blamed for it. Then it turns out to have actually been caused by Bowser Jr. posing as Mario. Now he and his friends have to stop Jr., clear Mario's name, and clean up all the gunk to bring Sunshine back to the island. This is a perfect story to retell because, let's be honest, aspects of the original game's plot were very questionable, to say the least. So by adapting it into an episode, there would be an opportunity to make some changes wherever they might be needed. I was always confused about how the Piantas mistook Mario for Shadow Mario, even though they look nothing alike. But instead of there being a Shadow Mario, what if Bowser Jr. used the paintbrush to turn into regular Mario, normal colors and everything? All the Piantas would see him spreading the gunk all over the place, and then he hides away somewhere before the real Mario arrives. I think you'll agree that this would have the Piantas blaming Mario for the graffiti make a lot more sense, and it just comes to show how much I think classic Mario stories can really benefit from this treatment. So, can there be a great Super Mario cartoon? Absolutely, but I'm not here to offer a definitive solution. This is just how I would do it. I don't expect everyone to be completely sold on my interpretation, but the purpose of this video wasn't to convince people that I'm the only one who understands what Mario is about, because I don't. The purpose of this video was to share an idea for something I've been tinkering with for about 10 years, and to show how deeply I care about this franchise, and how much I want it to be faithfully represented in animated form. In the end, this is all based on my own perceptions, and what separates good art from bad art is how other people perceive it. Some people might look at a show or movie or painting and go, wow, that's really good. And other people might look at that same thing and go, wow, this is awful. Maybe a new Mario cartoon will eventually be made for TV, and maybe they'll give it to someone who comes up with better ideas for it than me. And that's perfectly fine. It could still be a great show, and I will watch it multiple times because I might love what that person brings to it. Art is subjective. No two people are gonna like the same thing. Like this video, for example. You may like what I came up with, or you may not like what I came up with, and I'm totally cool with however you feel. But if you're an artist going through any sort of creative slump, and you feel like nothing you make is worthwhile, just remember, what's most important about being an artist in whatever medium you choose is being able to express yourself in different ways and have fun while doing it. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, then be sure to let me know in the comments. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing and click the bell icon to be notified of future uploads. Also, totally optional, you can support me on Patreon or click the join button to become a sponsor for this channel. Doing so will give you access to exclusive content, and you get to see any of my videos before they go live. It's not absolutely necessary, but if you want to support me, I would really appreciate it. With that said, this is Mark, bidding you all a smashing farewell. Take care.